What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Account for Your Life podcast. Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. And today, here's what we're going to break down and get into when it comes to what we're doing in this podcast. And we're going to look at how to play the game of your future self. And if you've been following along for the past few days, we are going deep on our future self. We're going deep on how to actually play the role. And if you're following, you found your actor. You found your actor, the person that first came to mind, the person that, man, this person's a great actor. I love how they're doing it. And you started to research and you started to look at some of the things and some of the roles, really the roles that this actor has played. And just look at the parts. Like look at the fact that they are one person, but here's the thing. We don't even know who the real person is. All we know is what we've seen in the movies or in the TV shows. My actor of choice is Denzel Washington. And Denzel has done probably over 50 movies. I can't quite get the correct count. Every time I kind of like look, there's some movies missing or whatever, but I think it's over 50 movies. And with a person with that many movies, you're bound to easily be able to get access to them, especially if you got cable. So I've gone and I found, like the first day, I found a couple of movies. I found John Q and I found Training Day. John Q and Training Day. Yesterday, I found Equalizer 2, and I found, what's the other one? The Bone Collector. 2. Now, I'm not watching the whole movies. I think I watched a good amount of John Q, but I didn't watch the whole movies. I watched enough to get a sense of who Denzel Washington is in these movies. And so let's jump right into this. So The Bone Collector, you've probably seen it. It's a decent movie. Him and Angelina Jolie, a few other notables in this movie. And Denzel, when the movie starts, he's basically, he's a paraplegic. He's bedridden. He can't walk, but he can talk. His mind is good. He's an old forensic investigator for the police. I think he used to run the department at some point, but they didn't show what happened to him and put him there, but you heard in in some of the descriptions of how he got there. So he was in a bad accident that basically put him in a situation that he didn't have much. He potentially could not have much longer to live, but he's in it. Like, he's just bedridden. And, Queen Latifah is in the movie. She's his private nurse and she's there. And here's the premise of The Bone Collector. He's a guy who went deep. He went deep in police work. He went deep on understanding crime scenes, and he went deep on understanding kind of like how to solve a murder mystery, a murder investigation. So immediately, one of the things that he's faced with is a murder scene, an investigation. Angelina Jolie plays, she plays like an up-and-coming, police officer. She's not in forensics. She just so happened to find a crime scene. And unbeknownst to herself, she did not know that, she didn't really know what to do. She just went with her instinct, start taking pictures, start making sure no one messed with the crime scene. And when Denzel saw it, he says, oh my goodness, call this person in, because this person is an investigator. This person knows forensics. Here's something that I really got from this, because remember, he's an actor. He had to act the part laying in the bed. Literally, he's acting as like everything has to tease our mind to make us believe that he is a paraplegic. He has the use of his mind, his mouth, and he has the use, I believe, at least his hands, where he can use a mouse and he can talk to he literally can talk into the computer. Because, and it's crazy because the technology they had didn't look like much technology. I think that movie was made in 2002. And he's using this technology to figure things out. And he's able to uncover, decode a lot of things about a crime scene. And so this movie, for me, it kind of helped me to see a side of Denzel where he didn't play one of these mobile roles, running around, doing the police work. He played a role where he had to be dependent. He was dependent on other people. And other people had to be his eyes and ears on the crime scene. Angelina Jolie wound up being his eyes and ears. He couldn't go to the crime scene. Imagine he's playing this role. Look, so I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about my future self. You should be thinking about your future self. That's really what we're talking about today. We're looking at our future self. How do I construct my future self? How do I make my future self into the person that I know I would like to be? And then how do I play the role? Okay, let's think about the scene. Denzel is playing the role of a paraplegic. And we had to believe that he was a paraplegic. And he's laying in the bed. That's first thing. He can't get up. He can't walk. He can only talk and he can only move his hands. That's it. Who are you in your future self? How do you walk? How do you talk? This brings a cute, funny story. Back when I first got introduced to network marketing, I think it was 2002. And there was this company. It was, I can't remember the name of the company, but they were selling this cream. It was called Viagra cream. You know, Viagra had just recently had come out maybe a couple of years before. And this cream was for women. LOL, right? This cream is like, well, you know what? The men have their pills, but we have the cream for women. This was the most bizarre thing I've ever done in my life. And even talking about it was just bizarre. The fact that I'm getting myself in the conversation. I'm married already. Getting myself in the conversations about this cream. And the guy that I was working with had been in network marketing for a long time. And one thing I learned from him, and I'm taking that to heart now, is that he says, man, you show up. He says, you got to show up like the person you want to be. He looked like money. Now, he had money, but he said he learned how to do that because when he walk in the room, he want people to be like, oh my goodness, wherever he goes. So he always had on the suit. He always had, he had this swag. He had a bag and he was sharp and he walked a certain way. He was probably about my height, 6'3". So he wasn't a little guy. And if you saw him, you swear he was somebody because that's how he walked. He was acting out the rich man's life. So I thought about this, man, well, what does that look for me? It's like, well, how do I dress? How do I want to dress? See, that's the thing. Now that was how he wanted to do it. That's not necessarily how I want to do it. So that's why you got to play the role. You got to figure out what role am I going to play. So, and that's why we're looking at actors. We're looking at actors and how did they get in the role? Like, how did they actually get me to believe that they was that person, especially if they were really good? So we got to actually script out this role the same way Denzel got his script out. Denzel is playing a paraplegic in this movie, like bananas. And you believe he's paraplegic because that is the premise of the movie. Then there's the Equalizer 2. Now, the Equalizer series, you got 1, 2, and 3. It's interesting, right? Because Denzel is a ruthless. He's a ruthless killer, right? But he's a killer for good. So he's just not out messing with people. He's a person who wants to read his books. He wants to be by himself. He just want to help people. He's an ex-military, like super high level, intelligence person. And he knows everything. He knows how to do just about everything when it comes to taking somebody out. And I turned to this movie right at the beginning where he's on the train and he has a beard and he has a beanie on and he kind of looks like he, almost could be, a Jewish person sitting on the train and he's sitting across from a man that's got a kid and there's a lady over there as well. And, you don't really know what's going on, but you could tell he looked over there. And he looked at the girl and kind of looked at the guy. And the man gets up and he goes into another car. Soon after, Denzel gets up and walks to the same car. Now, this guy's a bad dude, right? He's probably stone cold killer as well. And, he's kind of like a mob figure and he's got goons with him and all kind of stuff. And Denzel goes into the car trying to get something to drink. And They were like, oh, no, you can't get nothing in here. Like, this is private. Get out. And he's talking to the guy. And then the guy that he came in there for was like, you know what? Hey, it's okay. Let's get him a drink. So he comes sit with Denzel. He's talking to him. And they starting to get the noise of it. And Denzel tell him what he's doing and why he's going to Turkey. And he tells him he's going looking for a guy that did this kind of thing. And he's talking about the person he's talking to, how this guy kidnapped his daughter and only did it because he wanted her to hurt the mother because they're not together anymore, blah, 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 blah. And the guy, and so the guy was telling him, well, he may not want to mess with that kind of guy because you just never know what's going to happen. Long story. Then next thing you know, the guy sends the goons onto Denzel because he knows Denzel is there for him. And like Denzel could, he takes out three goons who are much bigger than him, but he takes them out. And then, he sits down with the guy, and the next scene basically shows that the daughter is back with the mother. That's as far as I watched. I mean, I watched a couple more minutes, but that was as far as I watched. I mean, I watched it before, but here's the thing. Denzel's making me believe that character, that he can do anything. There's no situation that he's going to get in that they're going to take him out. He's going to take them out. And he's going to use his skills, the skills that he learned in the military when he was in these high intelligence operations. He's going to use these skills in order to take out people who may have more firepower, more people. And he gets you to believe that he's going to win. And that's what I'm believing through the movie. He's going to win. He's a good guy. He's the good guy. Now, here's the thing. Why am I telling you these stories and why are we looking at this? Because we're looking to play a role. If we want to learn how to play a role, we got to watch people who play the role. It's kind of like, this is mentorship. We're getting mentorships from the people who did the roles. And so we just got to go into their roles, look at what they were doing, understand. Now, we're not going to get their insights on how they got into the role unless we can find some behind the scenes footage. You may be able to find behind the scenes footage. But just me looking at these roles says that, man, there's hope for me. I can develop a role for myself where I'm a, even a billionaire or 100 millionaire. I can do like that. I can play the role, someone who runs a business or a high level business, and someone who helps a lot of people, someone who takes care of his family, someone who's, look up to by his kids, and, someone who's, an influencer all throughout the world. Like, these are things that we all can design for ourselves. But then the question is, well, Jay, how do I do that when I'm not experiencing that? Okay, this is the question today. How do I do that when I'm not experiencing it now? You know how there's a future, and you know how, you want the future result. Here's the key element in bringing the future into our reality. It's called let go of the past. Yesterday we talked about the past, how it's easier, it's actually harder. It's harder to 2x than it is to 10x. It's harder to 2x because you're just grinding and getting tired and grinding. When you 10x, when you let go of the past, and we have a compelling future, then we take the compelling future and we develop there. I was listening to an interview with Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He is the author of 10X is Easier Than 2X. He co-authored that with Dan Sullivan. And I listened to an interview. I can't remember the guy that was interviewing him recently, but it's actually from last year, I think. I listened to an interview, and it was about an hour and a half. And he said something that blew me away. He says, look, I did not know how. He says, when I was writing this book, I didn't know how it worked. He says, we had this concept, but I didn't really understand. I was just writing a book. I says, oh, sure. He says, so you don't have to be the person while you're doing it. I'm going to tell you, that freed me. I used to think I had to have the result before I could actually write the book. I thought I had to have the result before I could basically talk about the thing. Where he's saying, nah, man, he had to discover it while in the process. Look, that's game changer. Do you know how many of us, me included, we will hold ourselves hostage because we're like, well, I don't have those results, so there's no way I can even talk about that or do that now. I have to wait until I get the results. So there's things that I've been waiting to do because I had not gotten the results. Waiting for years. It's funny because a friend of mine, colleague, I saw her at a conference and I told her about a book. I said, I'm gonna write this book and I want you to help me write it. And she messaged me recently and she says, hey, what's up with the book? And I was like, I told her, I said, well, like I got a lot going on right now. I'm not sure I can do it. But after hearing this, I says, oh, shoot, I can write that book. I have to develop the book. I have to develop the book while I'm developing in the book. I have 2 books that literally, one new title that came up that I want to really jump into. I says, well, now I can get into it and I can actually start living it because that's the future. So you bring the future to the present and you grow in the present with your future right now. All along, you're in this state of knowing that this is who you are now. Look, I'm telling you, this is a game changer. I don't know about you, like this is a game changer for me because the past had me hostage. I was being held. There's big goals that I know that I wanted to achieve that the past was holding me from it. The past was basically saying because that's your past and you haven't experienced it yet, then you don't have it. So you got to wait. Now I'm hearing, oh, I just need a different idea, right? I got to use the future idea now and not allow myself in the past to derail me. See, look, if we're going to develop a role, right, that really is compelling, then that role has to almost be like something that we cannot do. If it's something that you can do, then what happens is it's probably not big enough. It's probably not big enough. So I was telling a friend of mine a dream that I had in 2021. If you haven't been around here for a while, I had a dream, 2 dreams. I'm gonna share them again for all my new people. In 2021, I had 2 dreams. And the first dream, I'm sleeping, it's in the middle of the night, and I felt the presence of God literally where I was. And I felt it so strong that I started calling out, God is here. God is here. And I started just saying it over and over. God is here, shouting it. And as I'm shouting it and saying it, I was being elevated to a new level, just elevated. I felt myself just going higher and higher and higher. I woke up and I was like, oh man, I'm not sure what was going on. Then the next morning, I asked my wife, I says, hey, was I talking in my sleep last night? She says, yeah, I heard you saying something, but I didn't know what you were doing. I says, wow. So then I told her about the dream. Maybe a few months later, a couple of months, I don't know how long it was. I had a second dream. In the second dream, I get a phone call from somebody that I didn't know. And it says, hey, what is your bank information? I said, who is this? Well, it doesn't really matter. I just need to know your bank information. I says, why? I want to send you some money. You want to send me some money, but you don't know me. It doesn't matter. Can you give me your bank information? Okay, well, how much money are you going to send me? I'm going to send you $31,536,000. Huh? Now, at the time, I had been studying time, and there's exactly 31,536 seconds in every year. And so that was a construct that was already in my mind. But here's the thing. Now I'm in a dream where a person is saying, I'm going to send this to you. I woke up, and then the Lord, God himself, put the two dreams together and says, keep me first, son. I'm elevate you. All that is going to be like a transfer. And I shared that yesterday with a friend of mine. And as I shared it, what I realized is that the idea behind that is way bigger than what I've been doing. I gotta go big. I gotta shed from myself my past, all the things that are holding me back, the things that used to really propel me. Now these things no longer propel me. That's the 80% that Benjamin Hardy talks about in the book. So when you get rid of the 80% and only focus on the 20%, that's where 10x happens. So that's why it's important today, is to discover what your role is in the future. Develop your future role. Outline your future role so that you can start playing it now in the present. It doesn't matter if you have no experience. You don't need the experience to play the role. Denzel Washington was not a paraplegic. He wasn't. Denzel Washington did not work in the military. He was not any of these people. He just learned whatever it took to play the role. He learned everything on the job. It was the script that dictated what he would do. It wasn't him. Man, this is really compelling, man, because I read this book. And I listened to this book a couple of times earlier this year. The book when did this book come out? This book came out, I think, at the end of 2023. So the book came out in 2023. I believe I got it early 2024. I got the book, but I didn't get the book. It's not until now that I'm really seeing the power of 10x. If you want to 10x your life, look, play the role of your future self now. If you can script out, I'm saying not if, when you script out your role, when you decide who you can be in the future, and then you play that role today, you will 10x your life. You will 10x your business. You will 10x whatever area of your life that you are playing the role for. So guys, that is it for today. I hope you got value from today's podcast. Look, if you did, please like this video wherever you are watching. If you're watching especially on YouTube, that lets YouTube know that people like you love this type of content so they can share it with other people. We would like to grow our channel to multi millions. Here's the thing. We can't do that because we say it. We can only do that because of people like you who say you like it. And if you like it and you put that there and you share it, then we have the ability to get more subscribers from YouTube. So I appreciate you. I love you. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. God bless. Peace.
This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.